So if we'll stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Madam Clerk, can we have the secretary? Can we have the roll call, please?
Jamie Girardi,
Here.
John Anderson,
Here.
Peter Hansel,
Here.
Christopher Poole, Mr. Richard Tonello representing Mr. Chris Williams,
Here.
and Chairman Charles Gray.
Present. Here. And could you read the proof of publication, please?
The items were published in the Tampa Bay Times on May 4th, 2022 and June 1st, 2022.
All right, thank you. So I'd like to welcome everyone. We're the Planning Commission. We are appointed by the County Commissioners, and we meet twice monthly. Serve as a local planning agency, and we hold public hearings and transmit to the Board of County Commissioners recommendations on comprehensive land plan amendments, land development code amendments, rezonings, conditional use requests, and the Planning Commission is the final decision-making body for special exceptions. Also, certain appeals, variance requests, and certain alternative standard requests. However, final decisions may be appealed to the Board of County Commissioners. Anyone is in opposition to any development code amendment, rezoning, conditional use, or any item where the Planning Commission transmits a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, it's important for you to be at the appropriate Board of County Commissioner meeting. So for those of you who may not be familiar with the format, we have 3 sections: continuances, consent, and regular items. And continuances are typically where the staff or the applicant has requested continuance for any number of reasons. Consent are items where we have not heard any objections or gotten any letters of objections from the public. And regular items are the items that we will speak about openly today, and the applicant will present. And anyone who has concerns will have time to rebut. So, also, I think this is an opportunity for anybody who may be here to speak on an item that's not on the agenda. Is there anybody here for that purpose? I see no one. Okay, so please, if you would, anyone who has a phone with them, please check it and get it on the silent position before we start the regular meeting. So if you plan to give testimony today, will you please stand and raise your right hand and be sworn?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give today is the truth to help you God? Thank you.
Okay. All right. Guess we can begin.
Mr. Chair, Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. Before we actually start with item PC1, just want to inform the Planning Commission. I know that Mr. Saez did send an email to the Planning Commission members that Roberto Saez has resigned from his post effective immediately, and that was yesterday on June 15th on the Planning Commission. He does have some business interests that are very time-consuming for him, and he regrets to have made that decision, but he did. Mr. Saez is the appointee of Commissioner Jack Mariano, so Commissioner Mariano will have to appoint a new Planning Commission member. So just wanted to let the Planning Commission members know that Roberto Saez resigned effective immediately as of June 15th.
All right, thank you. Okay.
All right, so
All
we
set.
will move on to item PC1, which is PDD 22CU19. This is a conditional use, name of Angelo Ugenti III, VBBTS LLC, T-Mobile South. This item was actually advertised as a continuance, so it's a continuance to the July 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Okay. Hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay.
Thank you, and now we'll tee up item P2 for you.
Okay.
Good afternoon. If I could enter this into the record.
All right, do we have a motion?
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
William, do you mind describing for us what you're entering into the record?
Yes, that's the rough draft for Eagle One non-sub. It hasn't been signed yet.
Okay.
All right. This is item PDD 227585, Eagle 2, Employment Center Mpd.
So William, will you just state your name, because I don't think. you
William
did.
Vermillion, Planning and Development.
Okay.
My apologies. This is the location map. This is the same as the last time, south of State Road 52. This is the current zoning. Again, same as last time. To the north is AR, to the east is MPUD, to the south is AC, to the west is AC. Future land use on this site is Employment Center. To the south, you have Res 3. To the west, you have EC. To the north, Res 1. And to the east, Employment Center as well. The proposed request is a rezoning from AC Agricultural to EC MPUD Employment Center Master Plan Unit Development District to allow for the development of 2 million square feet of corporate business park, target business and light industrial uses, and 150,000 square feet of support commercial office use on approximately 321.13 acres. So that number for support commercial has been reduced in half from 300,000 from last time. This is the master plan. The only thing that's changed on it is a 30-foot easement to the south being shown, which is for a future trailway to the south that'll run along Eagle 1 and Eagle 2. This is the CPV sub-area map. The top one was prior to this ECMPUD coming into CPV, and to the bottom is the proposed changes. And you'll see that that also includes the Eagle 1 non-sub that I passed out, which effectively moved that support commercial from Eagle 1 to Eagle 2 to share the support commercial for both properties. The proposed development is within the CPV, and the parcels are currently vacant and being used for agricultural pursuits. Effective August 24th, 2021, landowners within this Eagle 2 ECMPUD entered into a certain exchange agreement for the CPV master plan use designations for portions of Swope and Cocolacis East parcels, which is now recorded in the OR book 1042-6, page 461 of Public Records, Pasco County, Florida. The applicant is seeking the same variations from 805 and 902.2 as last time to maintain stormwater ponds and wetlands in open space without having to plat them as separate tracts and convey a separate entity for maintenance. All activity, maintenance, or restrictions in such areas shall be in accordance with the requirements of environmental resource permit. All right. So these are revisions from last time. Like I said, changed the support commercial 300,000 to 150,000. That resulted in changes to conditions 36, 39, and 41. Condition 44 was added to reserve those 15.64 acres of high-density residential entitlements for future land swap at time of MPD for 3KS air and cutoff MPD, or another MPD if pursuant to land swap with another landowner in accordance with the sub-area policy FLU 7.112. The applicant and abutting landowner met to resolve Vision Road S alignment. and no compromises were made by the parties. Condition 25 was added to address this issue. If the property to the east or west has an approved PDP PSP or is built out, then prior to PDP PSP submittal, the developer shall supply evidence that it is coordinated with developers, engineers, surveyors of adjoining parcels to identify and provide the location of the required interconnecting roadway. The applicant has also submitted the non-substantial modification before you for Eagle 1 to the SR 52 Industrial Employment Center Master Plan Unit Development to revise the entitlements to be solely light industrial and increase square footage from 482,780 to 700,000 square footage will be added to Eagle 2 from 300,000 square feet to 150,000 square feet to support commercial. The proposed request is consistent with the Pasco County LDC, Chapter 400, subsection 402.2 zoning amendment, master plan unit development within applicable provisions of the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan. These are changes of the conditions of approval for the record that will be made in the conditions prior to BCC. Dimensional standards and principal permitted uses shall be in accordance with 522.5 dB and 522.5 DC of Pasco County LDC pursuant to sub-area policy flu 7.112 of the comprehensive plan. Provided uses, however, and activities that are prohibited by section 808.7 of the LDC shall not be permitted uses or activities of this MPD. At the time of PDP PSP approval, the county may require owner and developer to comply with LDC section 808.8 best management practices within wellhead protections. The PDD recommends approval to the BCC with conditions. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a
Yes,
question.
William?
Actually, I have two questions. So, William, what you just handed out, I'm not entirely clear. It may be because this is not a true strike-through and underline, and condition 28 and 30, former condition 28 and 30 are just blank now. But I can't tell where they're reducing the commercial or eliminating the commercial. So, new condition 29 talks about industrial entitlements, but I'm not, I guess, again, this may be because it's not a true strike-through and underline. I can't tell how they are or are not eliminating the commercial in an Eagle 1.
Right, I apologize. I just printed out the rough draft prior to it being signed, just so you guys could have something in front of you substantially for Eagle 1.
But I guess the whole purpose of having Eagle 1 was to know, I think the main purpose for having Eagle 1 in front of us was to know that they were giving up their commercial entitlements in Eagle 1, and I can't tell from this that they are. So is there going to be a different version of this at some point that?
Yes, prior to BCC, staff just completed the review of it last afternoon, so I wasn't able to move forward any past that prior to this meeting.
Do you know what condition 28 and 30 used to say?
I don't have it in front of me. I gave you guys all my copies.
You can have mine. Actually, we have an extra.
Those were left blank unintentionally. My apologies.
Oh, I guess, did there used to be a condition that dealt with their commercial entitlements?
I'd have to see the original to tell you for certain, David.
Cynthia, do you know?
Cynthia Spidell, Stearns Weaver, 401 East Jackson Street. I have been sworn. I haven't seen this yet. All I know is what we've submitted. I think that we're going to have to do some work after Eagle 2 to clean up Eagle 1 and make sure everything matches each other after today's hearing. So, yeah, I haven't seen it, so I don't even know what he's talking about. I'm sorry.
Okay.
These were just the conditions that were submitted by the applicant, put straight in. I haven't made any changes.
Well, but I suspect the applicant did something to the commercial entitlements to reduce them.
Right, and I can't tell you what that is.
But I can't, I'm not seeing it here. But, okay,
Yes, what we submitted deleted all that, so that might be why it's blank. But I don't know, I'd have to look at it. But we did remove we removed all the references to commercial and what we submitted, and we just left it all light industrial. So I think your issue is it's not in strike-through underline, so you can't see that we actually deleted it.
right, so, okay. I guess.
Are you saying you have no commercial entitlements now?
In Eagle 1, he's talking about the neighboring parcel, which we're not even really here to talk about
Yeah,
today.
so part of the issues with Eagle 2 was that there was a concern they were consuming too much of the commercial entitlements,
Right.
which some of that concern goes away if they've given up all their commercial entitlements in Eagle 1.
Yeah.
And so I was hoping this would evidence the fact that they were giving up their commercial entitlements.
I think it does because there are no commercial entitlements listed anymore, and there are no permitted uses for commercial. It's all industrial now. And that's why 29 and 30 are blank, but it's just not redlined. But that's my guess, just looking at it
Okay.
right now.
Didn't it say that there aren't?
Well, normally this would be normally we'd have a strike through. It's just confusing because there's additional text underlined, but there's no strike through of what is being removed. So that's the confusing part. So I'm assuming at some point staff and the applicant will make this accurately reflect that what's being deleted, but this doesn't do that. So we'll have to, anyway, sorry about that. So my other question is somewhat related to Eagle 1 and Eagle 2, and that relates to the trail. So I think you said something about the fact that Eagle 2 is reserving a 30-foot right-of-way
Yes.
width.
There's a 30-foot easement on the southern portion, and that's going to be added to Eagle 1 as well, whenever the master plan is revised, so they match.
So are you going to add a condition dealing with that trail on Eagle
Yes,
1
David.
also?
Yes.
Okay, and are you going to add a condition on Eagle 2? I mean, because I don't think just showing it on the site plan is sufficient. You need to have a condition that deals with when are they going to dedicate the right-of-way for it, there should be some, just like if it was a road dedication, there would be a condition that talks about the deadline to dedicate the right-of-way for it and things like that. So,
Right. We can make those changes in between now and BCC for that condition to Eagle 2.
okay, does somebody have a graphic that shows where this trail is anticipated going?
There's not a full PD study. Okay. She has one in her presentation that she'll speak to.
Okay.
Any other questions for me, gentlemen?
Well, just the one we're talking about, I think that's the big question, because I'm reluctant to approve anything where it's not spelled out. It's just sort of left to chance.
Well, we still have to deal with the roadway alignment issue, but I'm just trying to I want to make sure where everybody's clear about what's being done with the trail.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's currently nothing in either set of conditions dealing with the trail. So I want to know where is the trail supposed to go, and is 30 feet sufficient for it? Somebody
Right.
know this?
Hi, Brad Tippett, Planning and Development. We are lucky enough to have Sam Bennett here, who has some of the background of the trail. So he
Okay.
can probably speak to some of the expectations of where that's anticipated to go and how it might impact either one of these projects.
Okay.
Or not impact it.
I'm Sam Bennick, I'm with Pasco County Project Management. Our anticipation so far has been that the trail would follow that Collector Road S alignment. We're in the early stages of a PD&E study that would set the final alignment, but certainly when we were laying out alternatives, scoping the project, working with the consultants, we had those approved maps which showed Collector Road S where it was, showed, I believe, a 12-foot trail along Collector Road S, and so that was part of our assumption going into that study. And the change to move Collector Road S to the north We just need to have some kind of an understanding or some kind of a path to either get back to Collector Road S, or, as you say, David, right away, some mechanism to continue. Otherwise, I mean, we'll honor whatever is approved by the Planning Commission and the board, of course, but our study to date had been based on the expectation that there would be a roadway here.
So are you okay with the proposed new alignment of Collector Road S?
I can't really comment on the alignment of the collector road, but I will say that by not having a connection between the south property line and the collector road alignment, it no longer works to have the trail along that collector road. There's no way for the trail to get from the south property line to that collector road.
So is your preference that the right-of-way for the trail follow the alignment of the collector road?
I don't have a preference there. As long as there is a right-of-way that is available to us and that works with the applicant's project and everything else, the new alignment of the collector road really precludes the inclusion of a trail on it. So we would ask that either something else be provided or just make the.
Okay, I guess I need you to explain that to me, Sam. Is that because,
The trail's coming from the south, sir.
so the fact that it was moved north, I'm trying to figure which part of this new alignment makes it inconsistent with the,
The trail is coming up out of the Cypress, well, the anticipated alignment would come from the south, from the Cypress Creek Preserve, and the Collector Road S concepts that we've seen in the past. Cypress Creek Preserve had frontage on Collector Road S. If that's no longer the case.
I think you might need to show us graphically what you're talking about, because this is confusing.
Do we have a pointer?
Yeah, if you can show where you thought the trail was going to come into this project, that would be helpful.
That is not a pointer.
That's the bill grant application.
She doesn't have the software on there, so it's not gonna pop up.
You want to put the alignment that we have?
So it
Gotcha.
probably won't.
Well, just to describe on the figure, the existing rail alignment is visible where Mr. Tippin is pointing there along the south property line.
Okay.
And the properties to the west are generally owned by Tampa Bay Water. They include the Cypress Creek Preserve, the west and to the south, I should say. And there is an existing paved trail through that Cypress Creek Preserve, which comes up and connects to a gated service road, gated private service road in this area. So our anticipated alignments, as we were getting underway with the study, and I should, make entirely clear that we have not selected an alignment. The board hasn't approved an alignment, but our study was moving forward assuming that at some point that trail would transition from the Cypress Creek Preserve to the Collector Road
And its
S.
entry point into CPV, is it about where the Eagle 2, does it
I think it's
enter
just west of that wetland that's visible there.
just west of the wetland? So is the entry point within the Eagle 2 MPUD, or is it west of the Eagle 2 MPUD?
I believe that it is within the Eagle Point 2 MPUD.
See, the Eagle 2 MPUD is basically, I think, that north-south line that about where Brad's finger is.
Mm-hmm.
So the trail, the entry point from the south is somewhere east of that line?
That's my understanding.
Yes?
Yes.
So this doesn't affect the rest of CPV. It really only affects, it's only these two portions of CPV where the road alignment shifting is causing an issue. So if it shifted, the western part of this road doesn't affect you any?
It does not if we have connection from that south right-of-way line. If the decision is made that we're not to connect there, then we're going to have to find a different way to get to Collector Road S.
Okay, and then I'll just ask, so I'm clear, is it feasible to build the trail independent of the road? Or is that not the goal?
Feasible to barring right-of-way?
Well, let's just say that the applicant were to give you all the right-of-way you need from the trail along the old roadway alignment. Could you build the trail independent of the road?
Based on what we understand today, yes, sir. There is an eagle's nest in the vicinity, but it appears that we're outside of the critical 330-foot circle, so.
So I guess what I'm asking is if the applicant, I realize there's no conditions here now,
Yes, sir.
but if there were conditions that required the applicant to provide, is it 30 feet sufficient?
30 feet, it should be treated as a minimum. If you're building a 12 to 15-foot trail, you're looking at very little on either side,
Well,
but that
then
is
tell me what the
constructible.
minimum would be. Because
Ideally, we would have a 50-foot corridor as a, that would allow for landscaping and slopes, but
So I guess
30
if they,
feet allows for.
if they gave you a 50-foot right-of-way along the southern boundary of Eagle 2 and Eagle 1, is that sufficient to build the trail?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Starkey, if you're going to comment, you probably need to come to the podium. Okay, because I don't think they're going to pick up you shaking your head, I'm sorry.
And I was sworn in, just in case this came
Okay.
up. And for a little history on this trail, some of my staff, people have heard this, but this is a trail alignment that I put on the state opportunity map when I represented Governor Bush on the Greenways and Trails Council, or, I don't know, Bush, Scott, or Chris. And it is the old Orange Belt Railroad line that the Pinellas Trail is built on today. Some of the portions of this trail, this abandoned railroad corridor, were auctioned off on our courthouse steps, sadly. Commissioner Schrader owns the little piece over here, just south of what we're talking about today. But this is one of the most important trails, if not the most important trail in the county. It starts in Trinity, and it goes up Tower, which we're going to call Rangeland. It's going to go over the Suncoast. When I got elected, my first MPO meeting was a meeting with DOT was talking about the fix at 52 and 75, and they were taking out the old railroad line underpass, and frankly, we got them to stop doing their design. They spent $1 million, redesigned that interchange, and we have an underpass north of 52 to get this trail to the other side of 75. So it's a very, very important trail. It connects to the Withlacoochee State Trail. We have applied for a build grant, and we have a contract we have a route study for it underway right now. It's my preference that these trails not be smushed up against the road whenever possible, because that's really a glorified sidewalk. If you've ridden the Upper Tampa Bay Trail or the Coastal Anklet Trail, which is an absolutely beautiful trail, the Starkey Trail, they're great experiences. So my preference would be that it stays on the southern boundary, and it's even better if there isn't a road next to it. 50 feet is much better than 30 for the reasons Sam said. I do want to say I'm very disappointed to hear today that this trail is not mentioned in any of the product that you're looking at, because we have asked at the board that any time there is a project coming near a major trail, that it be accounted in all the planning documents. So, I mean, they've got to have ways that the people in that neighborhood can connect to this trail, and it's got to have, it's an important part of the future of this county. So if it's not even mentioned in here, David, I'm really disappointed. But those are my thoughts. I don't know if you have any questions, but.
Well, the planning commission can make sure it gets mentioned.
But gosh, I've been saying that for, how
Oh,
long have I been
I-
elected?
I-
10 years. I'm in my
I-
10th year.
I don't disagree with you that it should have already been in there. I'm just saying that we can correct that mistake today.
Yeah, I
So-
appreciate that. That's why I came here when I heard this was coming up, so.
But you've answered my main question, which is, can the trail be built independent of the roadway?
It's
And the answer-
preferable. It's a better experience.
So as long as we had 50 feet of right-of-way along the southern boundary of
Yes,
Eagle 2 and Eagle 1, the trail could be constructed.
yes.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question? When you talk about trail, you're talking hiking trail, bicycle trail?
This is a multi-use trail, so it's hiking, biking, and who knows what.
But not motorized biking?
You know, there's different rules on different trails on the state. If it becomes part of the state greenways and trail system, you can't have any, well, I don't know, Tina's not here, and I don't know if you know the rules.
What's your
You
intent?
can have some motorized, but maybe it's up to a certain speed. Is that right? Like an electric bike, like I have an electric bike, you can ride an electric bike on that.
And there-
Pedal assist.
And there is new guidance, ADA related. That guidance is really evolving. If your question is specifically, are we targeting golf carts?
No, I'm just asking general.
Yeah.
I just, when
Yeah.
you mention trail, many things come to,
It's just like the Pinellas Trail.
okay.
It'll be very similar to the Pinellas Trail.
Yeah, and I know you tried to connect all these trails
Yeah,
together. You've done
and
that
this
for
is
years, but I
the
just want.
master trail of the county. This is the master, not the Suncoast. Suncoast Trail really provides us very little economic benefit. This trail should have a lot of economic benefit, and if I were an owner of the property there, I would be making sure that I was putting some kind of commercial retail opportunity along that trail, and it will be a very big selling point for any residential that comes in there.
Well, the particular rezonings in front of us are primarily industrial, just so you know.
Yeah, well, people will be able to use that to get to work. So,
I have a question. So you have the 50 feet right-of-way. How much is pavement, and then what does that look like as a cross-section?
well, it's a 12-foot wide trail, and so then, the idea is to have it meander, as Jamie knows I like to say, not wiggle, meander. And, are you a cyclist?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were. So, you know, when you're cycling in a straight line and you look up, if it's a straight road, all you ever see is pavement, because you have to be looking straight, right? I've had many accidents where I look to the side, I go to the side, and then I crash. So you want to have a little bit of movement, so when you're looking up, you know, you get a little variation, and it's just a more pleasant experience. The really premier trails have a little bit of movement in them.
And is the intent to go coast to coast on this? Is this trail part of that coast-to-coast trail?
It will provide another access point to that coast-to-coast trail. You can come into the county and take this trail to get down to Trinity, or you can go across and come down the Suncoast. But also, trail users are very big into loops. So this makes a very big loop in the county as well. And this trail will be going through Connerton. And so you'll have that downtown opportunity like you have in Dunedin. And I keep trying to get anyone who lives in Land Lakes, I keep telling them, get organized and get yourself a little downtown on the edges of this trail. So it's a great opportunity for entrepreneurship.
Thank you.
Just going back there to my question, should there be limits on what type of vehicles go on this bicycle walking, or should we just leave it open? That's my question.
Well, I
have.
think it's a continuous trail, so I think the issue of what can go on it is something that the county should be dealing with outside of this MPUD.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I don't think we can, I don't think we can be limiting we can certainly require the dedication of the right-of-way for the trail,
Okay,
but I don't think you should be getting into who can or cannot, because that's dictated by state law and potentially county ordinance, but you don't want to have a different rules for this part of the trail versus the entire trail.
I just would hate to see motorcycles on it.
Oh, no, the motorcycles cannot use them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's,
No.
But
You're out, Richard.
but
They
it's
can use that road that's
but-
going to
but
come
Pete,
through.
it's a tricky
Figure out
issue
how that works.
because there are some bikes that almost look like little motorcycles that are allowed, and so this is not an issue you want to get into in this MPUD, just
Yeah,
trust me.
I agree on that one. Yeah, that's kind of a state issue.
Okay, well, while we're on the subject of the trail, can we get the applicant to state whether they agree with providing 50 feet of right-of-way along the southern boundary for the trail?
Cynthia Spidell, 401 East Jackson Street, Stearns Weaver. I've been sworn. What we offered was the 30-foot easement at the boundary of the property. This is the first time I heard about 50. I think we would view that as an extraction. That's not proportionate to what we're asking for, but we're willing to work with you, and I think that my client is willing to allow you to have that 30 feet that he's got to reserve anyway at the southern boundary of the property. But obviously, if you're talking 50, that's like a roadway. So, and considering we're also providing a 12-foot path along with Vision Roadway S, we would, request that additional 20 feet if you want it, that the county would have to actually pay for that.
Well, we can give you mobility fee credits for it.
Jessica Eiserman.
We're not giving you cash, though.
Jessica Eiserman, Stearns Weaver Miller, 401 East Jackson Street. I have also been sworn. I do want to point out Vision Roadway S, which was the intended co-location area for this trail, has only a dedication right-of-way of 80 feet in total for the roadway and the trail. So at most, we are required to provide 80 foot of right-of-way for a road and a trail for Vision Road S. So providing an extra 50 feet separate and apart from Vision Roadway S is extreme. We are agreeable to co-locate the trail on an existing 30-foot easement on the southern boundary of the property. Anything beyond that, we will work with the county and get them the right-of-way they need, but there would be mobility fee credits or compensation as we would agree to at a later date.
Well, we have to deal with, we're talking about a condition of approval that we'd be putting there now. So if you want mobility fee credits for the additional 20 feet, I think we could agree to that.
We're not in a position to agree to the compensation for additional right-of-way, especially for an alignment. We don't know where it's going. The PD&E study is not yet complete. So it would be a little futile for us to dedicate right-of-way and negotiate that compensation if it's not actually used because the alignment is determined to be better somewhere else.
Well, but what I'm hearing staff say is that this pretty much is their alignment. I'm not sure there's another place to put it unless it goes into the middle of your project.
I'd like to ask staff if they are doing a PD&E that will have alternatives for county commission to consider. Will you please explain?
Yes, there are other alternatives, and they do, as you say, Mr. Goldstein, include purchasing of new right-of-way from existing landowners. I believe that we'll be looking for at least 3 alignments and a no-build alternative for anywhere that we go.
Well, through this area of the trail, what would those other alternatives be? I'm talking about for this particular area that goes through Eagle 1 and
Well, we mentioned earlier, finding a different way to collect a Road S wherever it ends up. You're looking at a small area here in this MPUD, but certainly we have the latitude to move beyond this area if that's what's most appropriate. We're not required to go through the Cypress Creek well field. It is a large and we think very beneficial trail that is already existing. So it certainly made sense to us to use that as a logical termini of a segment of the project and an amenity that we wanted to incorporate. But we could move to the north and to the south, and the alignment study, the PD&E study, will consider those other alternatives.
If I may, I have one follow-up question. Is it possible for the trail to actually be not even located on this property and be located on the Water Management District property directly to the south? Is that a possibility? Or the Tampa Bay Water property?
Tampa Bay Water.
I'm sorry, Tampa Bay Water Works?
That, I understood the Tampa Bay Water public utility property actually terminates south of this, and there is a separate private owner.
Well, so ultimately, my question is there a chance that the alignment will not?
You're going to have to speak into the microphone, please.
Is there a chance the alignment of the trail will be south of this property?
Yes, there is a chance, but it's not Swift Mud or Tampa Bay Water property in this area. We couldn't entirely connect through to State Road 52 or to Bellamy Brothers without crossing some privately owned property, either yours or Cedar Hammock. Yes, sir.
Oh.
All right.
And guys, I'm
Excuse me.
George
You have to have your
Southworth,
name,
and by George
address.
Southworth, and I have not, I walked in just as you were completing swearing, so I'd be
Okay.
happy to be sworn.
Please.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, sorry, thank you. All right, I am perfectly happy to dedicate 30 feet of right-of-way along the southern boundary of my property for the trail. All right, I know that it might not be as much as someone might desire, and I do understand that they'd like the trail to meander, but this is a very small portion of the trail that might not be wide enough to meander. I'm already dedicating the 80-foot right-of-way for the road that includes room for a trail. I would also, as an alternative, give a 30-foot right-of-way up the west edge of my property to connect to the road. But as Catherine said, that's not exactly the ideal. It's not really what they planned, is to have the trail and the road right-of-way right beside each other. She'd like the trail to be independent. So the 30 feet, I think, I'm not asking you to condemn it. I'm not asking you to pay for it. I'm willing to give you 30 feet voluntarily. I believe they're wrong, that I believe that the Swift Mud Trail actually comes up west of my property, so there's an interconnect problem there. It might require Andy Scaglione to give up a 30-foot easement when he develops his property to let the trail connect to my 30 feet. There's probably a disconnect at Bellamy because I think Cedar Hammock owns a little tiny piece at that end, so it wouldn't necessarily connect to Bellamy, so you'd have to solve that problem. So there's still problems, okay, and they're not resolved by 50 feet or 30 feet. Now, if the county came back and proved that they could not, for drainage purposes or some other reason, physically get the 12-foot right-of-way or 12-foot trail within that 30 feet, I'm open for discussion, but I don't think that it's fair for me, who is voluntarily willing to contribute an additional 30-foot for the trail in addition to the 80-foot for the road, to require that be a 50-foot right-of-way without compensation that I'm certainly not in a position to sit down and negotiate today. Not to mention that it would, there are wetland issues, there's lots of other issues that the alignment has to consider before anybody can make a decision whether this is the proper place for the trail or not. But I'd let you come up the west boundary and connect to the road, wherever that Vision Road ends up. Vision Road S ends up being located on the property. I'd let you have the 30 feet along the south right-of-way, and I'd work with you if that created a hardship. But I think that's, as much as realistically or, should be required. Thanks.
I've just got a quick question. I mean, first off, first statement, it seems like this is a pretty big detail we're trying to work out on the fly here at this meeting.
Yeah.
I guess, in my opinion, I think this probably needs to be resolved and brought back to us. But my question, and I'll get right to it, on the 80-foot right-of-way for the roadway itself includes a 12-foot path. Since we're talking about in the middle of industrial and commercial property, if that path or that multi-use trail is going to go somewhere else, does it need to be here? And does that, if not, does that reduce the right-of-way needed for this roadway?
No.
Well, you probably still need sidewalks of some kind
Sure.
next to the road. I'll have to ask staff whether the 80 feet could be reduced if it's just a sidewalk, not a trail.
This is Brad Tippin, Planning Development. We can look at that. We can certainly look at that option. I don't know that it's going to make a substantial difference unless you were to remove all requirements for sidewalks and trails within that right-of-way and exchange them for the 50 feet on the boundary. I don't know that the math works out. You're gonna save a few feet on the road right away, and the couple of feet or whatever isn't really gonna help with this particular issue.
So, Brad, I'm going to ask you a question. I don't want to put you on the spot too much because I know this project changed hands from Jessica to William midstream, so I'm not going to blame you if something got missed, but to Jamie's point and Commissioner Starkey's point about the fact that this probably should have been resolved well before it got here, was this project submitted to Tina and MPO for comments? Did we get any comments? I mean, what was the breakdown in terms of why this wasn't resolved before today?
I'll look into that and see what the breakdown actually was. But the main situation that occurred was that the original alignment of this road was on the southern boundary, and therefore it wasn't going to create any issue because the trail could always incorporate itself into the road right-of-way that the county was going to have as of what was previously thought for this area. When this road alignment has since changed as part of this, that's when all of this kind of came up because there's some different situations. The Cedar Hammock property and the Swiftmud property, that's not all public property on the south side. There is a portion that would need to be addressed. And then there's the question of, do you actually use this particular situation where that road right-of-way was already considered and contemplated as the location of the trail? So that's what we were bringing forward, that's what we were bringing
Well,
in.
I guess to play devil's advocate though, weren't they proposing to move the roadway alignment with their initial application? Cynthia's shaking her head yes. So I would think that if the initial application showed the roadway alignment being moved, that if it was submitted to MPO, that they would have said, well, what about our trail? Or, you know, I'm just trying to figure out how we got to this point where we're,
And I think figuring out how we got here, probably, we would have to do that through some discussions and understanding of what was going on with those reviews. But when we're talking specifically and solely about Eagle 2, they're showing a 30-foot easement on their southern boundary plus the road in the middle. So that, looking at Eagle 2, is a reasonable solution, I think, with the information that a 50-foot is preferred, that's understood. But the 30-foot easement still being shown on Eagle 2 made their project okay. What happened was when they're bringing in the resubmittal, the modification on Eagle 1, it didn't show that same location. The road right-of-way was there previously. The entirety of it was switched in the middle of the site, and that easement wasn't there, so there would be a gap. So that's what brought
yeah,
this to
but
light
it
later.
goes beyond just what's mapped. The conditions of approval don't address.
Right.
In Eagle 1 or Eagle 2 address this trail.
Right, and Eagle 1 was brought up at the previous hearing to be requested to be a part of this
And
hearing as
I
well,
actually
so
get it
that's
with
why.
Eagle 1 because in Eagle 1, they hadn't moved the roadway yet, is my understanding.
Correct.
The roadway was moved because of Eagle 2.
Correct.
So I actually understand why it got missed in Eagle 1. It's Eagle 2 that I'm not understanding how it got missed. Because that's where they were moving the road.
There's a provision of an easement for Eagle 2 on the southern boundary.
Okay, maybe I missed it. I don't, there's a required dedication?
It's,
Is it in there now?
I'm sorry?
this is the,
What was the question?
Is there an actual condition of approval in Eagle 2 that requires 30 feet dedication?
I think we have agreed to add that if your PD&E study shows that this is the preferred alignment of the Orange Trail, that I will agree to dedicate up to a 30-foot right-of-way for that road within that south 30 feet of the property to accommodate the Vision Road, and I'll do that for both Eagle 1 and Eagle 2. I can't resolve your issues of how you connect to Bellamy or how you connect to the, you know, the Swiftmud Road that I believe comes up to the property behind Mr. Scaglione, not behind me. But, you know, I'm happy to provide the.
I'm not asking.
Is more than you would have had
Yeah, to be
along
clear,
the
I'm-
edge of the road, too.
I'm very clear about what you're willing to do. I'm trying to ask staff whether there is already a condition dealing with it. Because I thought Brad said there was.
I think we've added as a condition.
Yeah, we suggested it yesterday, we said we agreed with staff to do between planning and board.
Okay, so it's not in there
it's
now.
not physically in
Right.
there currently.
Okay. I just want to make sure I wasn't dreaming something up because I didn't see it. Okay.
And we've agreed to modify Mpd modification for Eagle 1 to do the same.
Okay, so my final question on the trails, I'll ask Sam and Tina. Can you live with 30 feet with the understanding that if you need more, you might have to buy it or provide credits of some kind?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
at some point I need to make a statement regarding communication with a citizen on this subject.
Okay.
Well, you could probably go ahead and do it now. You're talking about an ex parte communication?
Yes.
Okay, if you,
I had a communication from a citizen, Mr. Scaglione, called me yesterday, and we spoke on the phone concerning the project.
anybody else have any ex parte disclosures they want
I did.
I spoke with Andy too.
And I did too.
to? Okay.
If I may, Mr. Goldstein, inquire and as to the content of those ex parte communications?
Sure, go ahead. You all want to explain what you discussed with Mr. Scaglione?
He shared with me concern over the Vision Road and how that might impact the viability of certain portions of his property from a commercial perspective.
And Mr. Poole, did you provide any response to those comments?
No,
Okay.
That's not Mr. Poole, by the way.
I'm sorry.
it's all right. I knew who you
Person
meant.
sitting in Mr. Poole's seat. Mr. Gray, did you say you also had ex parte communications?
The same conversation and basically the same, let's see what they say at the meeting.
Okay.
I understood that our whole purpose, one of the main purposes of this delay was to come to an agreement on the movement of that Vision Road, and I was told that there was nobody came to an agreement. So here we were really right back at the same spot we were then. So it seems like we have an awful lot of unanswered questions, and I'm really uncomfortable
Well,
with it.
I would just answer a remediate question.
Yeah.
Did you have
and
any
the answer is
conversation?
no.
Okay.
Okay.
Same conversation, no additional.
Okay.
Regarding the road, and it was a one-way conversation.
Okay. Mr. Tonello, did you have any conversations?
I did not. Mr. Scaglione did speak with Chris Williams, who is my supervisor.
And do you know the content of that?
Similar conversation.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, so I don't know where we are procedurally. William, were you done with your presentation?
I'm done, David.
Okay.
All right. Cindy, do you have anything else before we see if there's anybody in the audience that'd like to comment?
Well, the applicant should get a chance to do a presentation.
Yes. Let's use the applicant, right?
Yes.
That's right.
Cynthia
You're
Spidell,
Cynthia,
Stearns
right?
Weaver, yes, yes. Cynthia Spidell, Stearns Weaver, 401 East Jackson Street. I have been sworn, and we just have a brief presentation. I apologize, I forgot to ask you, Mr. Chairman, for any additional time yesterday, so I'll keep it brief, and hopefully if you have any questions, then I can go back and revisit that.
Okay.
So as we've discussed, we've been continued from May 19th to kind of talk about some outstanding questions that came up with regard to the Vision Roadway S alignment at the last hearing. Which button do I press? I press the middle button, right? Like that one? Uh-oh. Okay, good. So we have our whole team here. Some are present virtually. The rest of us are here in person. Mike Razor could not be here today, but it doesn't sound like we have a lot of transportation questions right now. So May 19th at Planning Commission, the alignment of Vision Roadway S was discussed extensively. At that same hearing, you all voted to continue this item to today to allow us some time to meet with Mr. Scaglione and his engineer, Mr. Bergen. We held that meeting on June 7th, and I should precede that with, on June 1st, they sent us a follow-up meeting summarizing their concerns, and we went through all of those 6 items at the June 7th meeting. So taking a step back here, there's a lot of terms that are being thrown out, and we got really quickly into the weeds on the Orange Trail, so I thought I'd just take a step back and just talk about what's Eagle 1, what's Eagle 2, and how did we get here. So the current CPEV Master Concept Plan is before you right here. Oh, and should we enter the binders into the record? So we will request permission to enter into the record. We made some binders so you'd have some maps and a copy of this presentation, so
Motion to accept.
Second.
thank
Favor?
you.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. So this is the Central Pasco Employment Village Master Concept Plan. And this Master Concept Plan was adopted upon the original adoption of the Employment Center Future Land Use Classification. And I just want to emphasize it's a guiding document that manages the long-term vision of the project. It's not, the regulatory part of it is when the MPD comes in before you today that actually places the land uses in their locations. So this was our starting concept plan post the Dale Swope conversion that that happened earlier this year. Or was it last year already? So anyways, Eagle 1 is the property all the way to the east, which is along Bellamy and 52, and then Eagle 2 is right next to it. And then here, which one do I press for the pointer? Oh, it doesn't work, okay. So at any rate, it's a concept plan. So as you come in, it was based on data and a base model from back in 2008. Obviously, those numbers get finalized as you go through the development review process and the MPD master plan to actually start to really locate those land uses. And you know, the MPD master plan is basically then has more engineering data available in there in that part. But this is the starting document. It's a vision map for the area. So why the name Eagle? Because we have an eagle's nest on Eagle 1, and you can see it right there. It's right smack in the bottom portion of the Eagle 1 project, and that is sort of what precipitated a reevaluation of the alignment of the Vision Road. The tree was dead, or at least the landowner thought it was dead, but the eagles returned and raised an eaglet, so we decided that this needed to be addressed with these MPDs, and that was sort of the initial impetus to moving the roadway. So just to give you a little history of Eagle 1 and Eagle 2, Eagle 1 was rezoned from AC to MPUD on October 7th, 2019. It was approved with 200,000 square feet of commercial entitlements and 1 million square feet of light industrial. Fast forward through the pandemic and the online retail sort of macroeconomic environment that pushed a lot of retail sales online, Amazon comes in and they put in a non-substantial modification to Eagle 1, which essentially moved the commercial entitlements from the northern parcel to the southern parcel, and basically allocated 517,220 square feet of industrial on their northern parcel, and the remaining light industrial was also then moved to the southern parcel, which was retained by 3KS. The Cpev master concept plan was not revised with this modification. So part of what we're doing here today is we're cleaning up all these items and bringing everything in conformance and looking at the two projects together collectively. So on February 2nd, Eagle 1 MPD modification number 2 was filed by us, 3KS, to correct some of the incorrect parcel acreages from the original non-substantial modification. We're converting entitlements 36,000 to light industrial, and the result effect is elimination of the commercial and just retaining 1.2 million square feet of light industrial on the Eagle 1 site. And to David's point, that was what I think William was trying to show you with the non-substantial modification conditions that were passed out earlier.
Before you leave that point, I just want to clear something up. So it says Eagle 1, which originally approved for 200,000 commercial. It says you're converting 36,000 to light industrial.
Correct.
Where's the other?
Would go back to the pot.
Is the remainder of what's being moved to Eagle 2?
Well, I mean, you can look at it either way. Either way, it's going back into the pot, because Eagle 2 is only asking for 150, right? So you can look at it. So I think you've got land use colors, and you've got pots of entitlements. So the land use colors are moving, and the entitlement request is being amended as well.
But the end result is that Eagle 1 will no longer have commercial.
Correct.
Once we get a corrected version of
Correct. Yeah.
Eagle 1.
So today, Eagle 2 ECMPD proposes revising the Cpev master concept plan to reflect the Eagle 1 modifications in that non-substantial modification. We're effectuating a land use relocation of the commercial, from Eagle 1 to Eagle 2. We're effectuating a land use swap within 3KS parcels to basically what we're just trying to do is create one large light industrial parcel. So the light industrial users, they want they want 100-acre lots, they want big lots. So we just basically use the mechanisms available to us in order to facilitate a large light industrial tract. So the request is for 150,000 square feet of support commercial and 2 million. Now that was 300, but after meeting with Mr. Scaglione and his team, it was volunteered by my client to reduce that to address some of his concerns. So hopefully that kind of puts a little bit in perspective. So here we are with the the current map and the proposed map. And basically, all you can just see here is that the red is moving from Eagle 1 to Eagle 2. It's being relocated within Eagle 2, and we're really effectuating that big purple land area. If you can see that, I can't point to it right now. So, so during the neighbor meeting, oh, I'm sorry, number 6 is supposed to say starting position, condition number 25 and 21. And current position is condition number 25 and 21, because those both address the alignment issues. So we talked about the alignment of the Vision Roadway S, and I think at the end of the day, what we're asking you to do is to, if you would like us to construct the road, we would like that road to serve and to be best serving to the light industrial development. Light industrial buildings are really large. You have truck loading areas, you have large parking areas. They're not as easily movable as, say, like residential housing, which can more easily be planned to move around roadway alignments and wetlands and that kind of thing. So we really want to have the ability to have someone come in and design and construct a road that services the site as a priority. And we are offering up to construct those roads, whereas in Eagle 1, all they had to do was convey that 80 feet of right-of-way at the southern boundary. There was no requirement to construct it. So what we're doing here today is asking you, if you let us have an alignment that serves the property best, we will construct it in conjunction with the development. So item number 2 is to clarify some of the land use swaps, provide the MOUs, provide the summary, and in the agenda item, full response included addresses all those things. We provided a table to discuss the acreage movements. And again, it's really important to delineate that the concept plan is a different map than the master plan. The concept plan is just, the base data is completely different. It was created back in 2008. The master plan is based off a survey, wetlands, and better information that we have available to us today. Those two maps are never going to match exactly, but the CPEV sub-area policy clearly states that the concept plan is a concept plan, and the vision and the general location is then guided through the regulatory process, which is the Mpd. Letter item number 2 was the amount to support commercial office. We agreed to reduce it from $300,000 to $150,000. And just looking at that $150,000 over the, just with respect to the light industrial entitlements for Eagle 2, that represents 7.5%. And when you're looking at Eagle 1 and Eagle 2, it's 4.7%. So as a general rule of thumb, support commercial is generally around that 20% range, so we are well below that. Oh, did I just move that? So, okay, so then going back to letter item number 3, the neighbor was concerned about contingencies regarding whether the BCC lifts the cap on light industrial. So we amended condition number 41. We just figured, you know what, we're willing to reduce the retail up front. We're comfortable that the board has given staff direction that the cap on the entitlements will be lifted. So we're just going to trust that that will happen, and therefore we're okay reducing that commercial support, that commercial entitlements now. So then moving on to the acreages, again, this kind of goes back to the differences between the concept vision plan and the MPD. They're just two different documents. That acreages are never going to match exactly, and we stand by the acreages on the MPD plan. And then the agricultural activity, it's under agricultural exemption. It's green belted. It's been for more than 5 years. So we don't really have any more to say than that, other than my time is up. So in conclusion, staff's found the application to be consistent. We have letters of support. There's also another new letter of support that's in your binder that was entered the record today. So we have support letters from Keith Swope, Dale Swope, Jason Aprilli, and Mr. Kokolakis. We kindly recommend recommendation of approval. And I have a bunch of backup slides for if you have any other specific questions.
All right, any questions?
Thank you.
The applicant? No questions? All right, I guess you'll have time for responding later.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak? Okay. You state your name and address, please. You've been sworn.
Hi, I'm Chris Rodriguez, one of the landowners, Albert Henry Rodriguez Family Trust on the west side.
Okay,
But I have not been
would you
sworn
raise
yet.
your right hand and be sworn?
Please swear affirm the testimony you're about to give the truth, so help you God.
Could Could you give your address too, please?
Yeah, 3204 West Tambay Avenue, Tampa, Florida.
Thank you.
So anyways, yeah, our family is in approval of this. There's been some back and forth on commercial and square footage, and as we all know, it's proposed or it's going to be changed, or so it's been given a couple of ups and downs and whatnot, but we are in approval of it as long as those things do happen. It comes down from 300, it was at 200, now it's 150 down. So if those things do happen, then we're in favor of it, so.
If I may, and your property is where, sir?
So if you look back at the map, on the west side, on the corner of Aaron and 52.
So you're the
Northwest.
northwest corner,
Correct.
the red and purple area on there?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else like to speak?
Good afternoon. Andy Joe Scaglione, Highway 52, 3802 Ehrlich Road, 33624. My attorney, Matt Maggard, is on Zoom. He just got out of the hospital yesterday, and my engineer, Dan Bergen, is under the weather, and he's also on Zoom. They asked me to enter this into the record. I've made copies for everybody.
Okay.
Make a motion to accept the material.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Could you describe briefly what you're handing out to the planning commission?
Actually, that is the realignment that at last meeting, you all had recommended and thought was reasonable. There was conversation on that, and
This is the graphic showing a proposed realignment of the road?
yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'll let Mr. Bergen and then Mr. Maggard, and then I'll speak last. Thank you so much.
All right. Mr. Maggott or Mr. Bergen, whoever would like to go first?
I'm available here if you can hear me via Zoom. Is it coming in clearly?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. I was not sworn in. I had just missed it, so.
Okay, so if you
Daniel,
raise your right hand and be sworn.
Do you swear or affirm the
Yes, sir.
testimony you're about to give is the truth to help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's for the record, Daniel Bergen, 3802 Ehrlich Road, Suite 312, Tampa, Florida. Representing D&D Ranch and Mr. Scaglione. To recap what Ms. Spidel and the applicant said, we had met with them and had discussed multiple items. Most of them have been addressed. We are in support of the 150,000 square feet of support commercial that they're applying for, providing which, the applicant did say on record today that all the additional 164,000 square feet of remaining support commercial for Eagle One is transferred back into the pot. So that is, we're on board providing that's the case. Really, the issue that I want to speak to is it would be the interconnecting driveway, or the point of interconnectivity between Eagle One or Eagle Two and D&D Ranch. What Mr. Scaglione showed me there is a proposed alternative alignment that we had provided the county and the applicant, showing something that we feel is reasonable and fair to both sides, provides sufficient development area for a high-density residential for D&D Ranch, but also allows them opportunity to develop their parcel. So, they've been adamant that because they are the first table, they're allowed to pick and choose where that alignment goes. And It's our opinion that that's not the case. And she's citing condition 25 as the condition that allows them to do that, which it doesn't. If you read condition 25, it's specific to engineering. It basically is something that would be used for the plating and design of the roadway. It doesn't say this is we as the applicant get to pick and choose where the roadway connects to the adjoining parcels. That's not the case. This is done here, a mutually agreed upon location between both sides, which we feel we provided, should be settled on. And so both sides can plan appropriately and move forward with their development. Condition 25 does not allow them to unilaterally place the point of interconnectivity. That is something that we vehemently oppose and disagree with. And we feel the concept plan and the MPUD should be modified to something that works for both sides. It should also be noted that we do not have any objections to the industrial entitlements that they're applying for. We're completely on board with that. So from an entitlement perspective with support commercial and industrial, we support their application. But our issue is the point of interconnectivity. And we feel that we provide a reasonable and fair alternative that should be accepted.
Okay. Is that it, Daniel?
I'm available for questions.
Okay. Any questions?
About the alignment that we provided. I think it's clear that you can see how it, if you look at the land use entitlement plan, how it shows the developable areas north of where that alignment is, how those areas increase in size to allow D&D Branch the opportunity to develop that high-density residential in an efficient and effective manner versus having splicing through entitlement areas that wouldn't leave as an effective development potential.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bergen. Is there any questions from up here? I don't hear any. Okay, so I think you have one more person to speak.
I have a point of order question. Jessica Eisman, for the record. I'd like to cross-examine Mr. Bergen, but we can do that after we hear all of the witnesses at your discretion. We can do that now or after we hear the witnesses.
You could, I would let the opposition do all their speakers, and they can cross-examine them afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think, did you say Mr. Maggard is on?
Matt,
Yes,
are you on?
this is Matt Maggard representing D&D Ranch. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, fine.
Okay. I'm not going to reiterate everything Dan said, so my position and our argument from my side is more procedural in nature, in that it appears that the plans that were submitted to you today, which I don't have a copy of, were insufficient in that they don't have all of the conditions that the county is going to require. They're vague. They're hard to understand what was removed, what wasn't. And our argument is that it'd be improper to approve this at this point, moving forward without all the appropriate conditions laid out in writing, so everybody knows exactly what the requirement's going to be for the applicant. I know Mr. Skaggs has more to add. Like he said, I've been in the hospital, so I didn't have a large time to prep. So my statements are brief, but we would object to an approval based on an incomplete application.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, I see none.
I'll make this real quick.
Okay.
Again, just upset that this would actually affect my property. The line the proposed alignment that they went through, we adjusted it for what we heard at the Planning Commission last time we were here. based on what they thought was reasonable, that's what we went with. But another subject is a very, very big concern of mine is what's happened with the environment over there. I am very protective of the environment. I think it's one of the best investments you can make. Besides that, animals rely on it, and they rely on us to protect it. And in a Zoom call that we had, when I asked about, wetland issues, we had with my attorney, their attorney, the response was Mr. Southward said that he could nuke whatever wetlands he wanted to. So that's a personal issue with me that I will be staying very, very, very active on because we can't let this to happen to the environment. And hopefully that the policy of Pasco County gets tightened up where this cannot happen. So thank you very much for all your time.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right. If not, is there anybody else that would like to speak? All right. State your name again for the record.
Jessica Eiserman, thank you for the opportunity to cross-examine. Mr. Bergen, are you still on the line?
I'm here.
Again, this is Jessica Eiserman. I'm the attorney that represents the applicant today. I have just some quick questions for you. First of all, you had mentioned that that the proposed alignment didn't leave your client's property with effective development potential. Did I summarize that correctly?
It takes portions of the property and makes them less efficient to be developed.
Okay.
So, northern portion of that.
Okay, so it takes portions of your client's property and makes it less effective for development, in your opinion. Is that correct?
Correct.
Have you performed an analysis to confirm that?
Which, as in site development analysis? I mean,
Correct.
This is from a planning perspective. It's the same reason why you are trying to propose where your interconnectivity goes. I mean, it's taking the smaller blocks of property you have, the less efficient they are to develop. And if you look at the plan and my years of doing development work and engineering work, it is not as efficient as having a larger piece of land from a flexible standpoint. For flexibility purposes alone, it's not as efficient. It limits our options.
Could we bring up the applicant's presentation, please? Could you, I don't think it's in like slideshow mode.
What are you trying to accomplish here?
I am trying to pull up the master plan. Oh, thank you. Or I'm trying to pull up this map. Okay, so the top, Mr. Bergen, can you see the two CPEV concept plans on the screen?
Yeah, I can see them.
Okay, so I wanted to point out, so the top map shows the configuration as it exists in today's current CPEV master plan, and that's conceptual. Again, these are conceptual plans. The bottom map shows the proposed alignment within this MPUD application. What we can see is, and the presentation is in your binders, so you can look at it more closely, commissioners. So what we can see is that the roadway has, as proposed with our alignment on your client's property, you can see the roadway has some brown area to the north between the roadway and the wetland area. Is that correct?
Are you talking about the proposed or the current?
The proposed.
Correct, yeah, the area between the high-density residential land use, between the Vision Road S and the wetland is our area of concern.
Okay. And in that area of concern, do you, have you performed an analysis to determine what that acreage is?
What would be your definition of analysis?
Have you determined that acreage?
We took some, we roughly scaled it off. Again, this is a concept plan, so we can't tell you exactly where that wetland lies because we haven't gone to that level of investigation on our property. So what I can say is if that wetland shifts closer to the road when we do our, when we set our JD, then we really would have less. So it's just precariously close based on the concept plan as it stands.
Is it fair to say that you do not know where the wetland is and you do not know the acreage of the brown area between Vision Road S as proposed and the wetland area?
It's not safe to say it is. That is the case.
Okay, so to
We have
summarize,
approximate ideas. We don't know
and what is that
what those exact
approximate?
numbers are.
What is that approximate idea of the acreage?
Well, it's not just the acreage. The acreage in the gross doesn't matter. It's the dimensions. The dimensions vary. So
Okay.
you could stretch the acreage out, but if it's only a certain width and it's obtuse and it's
Mr. Bergen, I understand.
He's trying to answer your question, so I'd let him answer.
Mr. Bergen, again, my question was, what is the acreage of that area?
I don't have the exact acreage.
Okay,
I
do
don't
you
know
have
the
an estimate?
You've already asked that question.
And he has explained without actually providing me a number or saying
Well,
yes or no.
He says he doesn't have a number.
He said he doesn't have an exact number, but he has an approximation, and I'd like to know what that approximation is.
I'd have to go and approximate. I mean, we went back in and we looked at it, we pulled dimensions, and if that line shifts further south to the north, it just squeezes it up. It was a couple hundred feet, and I'd have to go in there and retrace it. But I don't know the acreage because guess what? There's a lot of unusable acreage that's created by this proposed alignment. You've
That's
adjusted the alignment on our property by moving the road.
Okay, Mr. Bergen, I'm trying
You don't
to,
feel it's as beneficial. That's the answer. So
okay.
what's happening on our property is our concern.
Okay, so from what I gather, we do not know the acreage amounts, we do not know the exact dimensions, we do not know the jurisdictional determination of that wetland in the area of concern. Is that fair to say?
I think we've already answered that question. Yes, we don't know those because we haven't gone through that planning process yet.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Did you want to ask anybody else if they're here to talk, or should I start rebuttal?
I think I've asked and nobody's shown themselves.
Okay.
So go ahead.
So I just want to,
Are you going to both speak?
probably, yes. I'm really quick. I just want to show you, well, these are the easement graphics, but we've already discussed that. So, so we just conducted, so this is, let me go back. This is what the applicant has handed, the neighbor has handed out. And we just did an exercise to show you how hard it is to place light industrial buildings versus residential. And we cannot set an alignment based on the neighbor's speculative assumptions. And we are asking you to prioritize the industrial development over residential development due to the flexibility that's needed in placing industrial buildings. So this next one is, and again, this is not a site plan. We don't want to make it seem like we're submitting a site plan with this. It's just an exercise that we asked to place some, if an industrial user were to come in and use the site, how would those buildings look? And this just is basically to just show you that it is very difficult to place large buildings with large truck loading areas, large parking lots. The areas that you need for industrial are larger, and therefore it is very important that the site plan be the determining factor in how these roads service the site. And so what we're asking you to do is to prioritize this industrial development. We're asking you to allow us flexibility to have this alignment set with the site plan when the site goes to develop. And we're asking you to not realign or force an alignment on a road based on speculative assumptions by the neighbor. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to George.
All right, just a couple of things. One, I have some pretty strong opinions that I believe the industrial property should be located east of Cypress Creek and that the residential property should be located west of Cypress Creek. That a better use of Mr. Scaglione's property that he's concerned about at this moment probably should be industrial. I really don't even believe there should be an interconnecting road because I hate to encourage industrial traffic through residential neighborhoods or residential traffic through industrial neighborhoods. I think it's a bad mix. So I'm not sure that this proposed Vision Road is necessarily beneficial to the overall development of CPEV. But to that end, if Andy wants to eventually do what I think is right and make that portion of his property industrial, he will be much more better served if that road was like in this plan that an engineer actually prepared, all right, and that road would come in parallel to the back of Amazon, go across, and intersect even further north, because this other alignment is partially what we showed in our conceptual plan before we had done and still haven't done any real engineering. But I did ask an engineer for one of the developers in the area to kind of lay out an industrial park there. And this is what he came up with. He wants the road to go along that north edge, and it actually creates larger areas on Andy's property. The bottom line is small areas you're always impacted by a road. Small areas may not be able to be buildings, but they can be retention ponds, they can be, if it's a multifamily residential, it can be where the clubhouse goes or the swimming pool. I mean, I think for Andy to say we're negatively impacting his property is entirely speculative, where I can guarantee you that that meandering road through the property is going to dramatically impact the ability to maximize the industrial job-creating uses on this property. And I do not understand why in the world my property should suffer when it's bringing jobs and taxes to Pasco County to benefit a residential development that probably can work around the road just fine. Further, I'd like to say that Andy Scaglione claims he's concerned about the environment. All right. I've been Conservation Landowner of the Year in Wyoming in 2012 for my wildlife habitat development and my stream protection projects out there. I have belonged all my life to Ducks Unlimited and the Wildlife Turkey Foundation and the Mule Deer Foundation and contributed to multiple environmental organizations. I just sold 600 acres of extremely environmental sensitive land in Hernando County and Arapahoe to Swiftmud. Andy Scaglione is concerned about the environment because I'm clearing trees legally as an agricultural exempt activity on the property next to him. That's his only concern with the environment. And I did say in the meeting that under an agricultural exemption, you can nuke wetlands. All right? I did tell him that. And I could, but I'm not touching a wetland. I've had all the wetlands delineated and jurisdictionalized, and my clearing is staying outside of those areas. Am I clearing? I'm clearing. I'm an agricultural. I own thousands and thousands of acres of agricultural land. I understand my rights, and if I'm in violation of any ordinance, regulation, law, I will correct and comply, but I do not believe there's any activity I'm doing that violates anything of any nature. It may not be what Andy Scaglione wants to happen, but it is my property, not his. All right, and last and not least, I, as the applicant, am not requesting a continuance. I'm requesting this board to vote on this project today. Okay? I believe it's, if there's a, that the normal procedure is, if the applicant thinks there's going to be a negative vote, he may ask for a continuance that you may or may not grant. But I do not want this continued. I want this board to vote on this project today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Jessica Eisman for the record. I have one final comment, and we'll turn it back over to you guys.
I just wanted to make sure it's clear that since I've given so many of you on one side a chance to speak, I'm going to ask the other party if he'd like to comment again. So I think
That's
the only-
fine. However, we would like the opportunity for rebuttal
Just
at that
go ahead
time
and say what
because
you
we
wanna
are
say.
the applicants.
Just say what you want to say.
With respect to the continuances, we believe that, well, under Florida statutes, currently, there is a shot clock provision under the Florida statutes that a decision has to be rendered within 180 days after an application is deemed complete. We are well past that already at this point. Final decision means city or a county commission decision, not planning commission decision. So we are at this point under Florida law, no more continuances are available.
Okay, I don't agree with your interpretation of the statute. If we're already past the deadline, you must have agreed to that.
We have not agreed to that. We have agreed.
Why didn't you invoke your right before the deadline then?
We at the last continuance objected on the record to the
That was after the
continuance.
deadline too.
We have objected repeatedly to that continuance.
Show me where you objected to prior continuances.
To get written approval to extend that 180 days has to be in writing. So you show me where I have given you permission to extend that.
But did you object to the original date this was set?
We objected at the last planning commission to the continuance.
When the date was originally set for the original hearing, did you object to the date?
No. We are
Then
willing to.
then I think you've waived your rights.
It clearly states that it has to be waived in writing. We did not put anything in writing. We are willing to work with the county. We have been working with the county for
Want to do a
months.
deck action that we violated the statute? Go ahead. I'll be happy to defend that.
We would
I think
like,
you waived your rights.
I disagree. And I also want
Then we need to do a continuance and do a deck action.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
If that's how you want to play this, we'll do
Okay.
that.
Sir, I am trying to give.
I'd like to hear a motion, please.
If you really want to play it that way, we'll do it that way. We'll do a deck action, and we'll see if you waived your rights under the statute. Because you did not object to the original hearing date for this matter.
Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend that we deny this currently. There are just too many holes in this document that I read here.
I'd like to see a continuance is what I'd really like to see.
Well, I'll do a continuance then, because they have to fill in some of the blank
Again.
spaces on this document, so,
For the record,
I've
I'd
already
like.
given you a chance to speak.
okay, so
Okay,
I,
we're done. We're
And I am
done.
entitled to object.
We're done. You did object.
You did, you put your objection on the record.
I'd like to state
Do we have a second?
another objection based on the Pasco County Code.
We're done.
What is your objection based on Pasco County Code?
Pasco County Code,
I'm gonna call a motion. I made a motion, and I'd like to get a second.
Let's hear what her objection is, please. I want to hear what it is.
Pasco County Section 307 allows the Planning Commission to grant an approval at their discretion. No continuance has been requested. The Planning Commission does not have independent discretionary authority to continue without the applicant's consent. That is my objection. Thank you.
I don't agree with that interpretation of the code.
All right. We have a motion to continue. Do we have a second?
Just a quick question, David, I want to get your comments on this, as far as a continuance.
Well, I think you have the power to continue the matter, but if you're going to continue the matter, it should be for some reason. So if it's, you've already continued this once because under the theory that you wanted the applicant and the objector to potentially agree on an alignment. It's very clear to me they don't agree.
Mhm.
So if you're continuing it for the sole purpose of hoping they're going to reach agreement, I don't think that's going to happen. So if the agreement, if the continuance is because there are certain conditions that are not in the conditions of approval, you could just impose those conditions. I mean, you have that power to impose. So, for example, the roadway alignment, the trail, you can impose that condition. You routinely approve projects with, where you've added conditions. So I do think you have the power to continue it. My only concern is I'm not sure what the purpose of the continuance is, because if you're expecting staff to miraculously come up with some agreement between the property owners, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm just being honest with you. At some point, you all are just gonna have to decide which alignment you like better and make a decision. So again, I disagree with the applicant that you don't have the legal right to continue. However, I'm also trying to be realistic here. I don't think you should put staff in a position to continue this and then not give any direction to staff as to what they're supposed to do. Because you tried that last time. They agreed on some things, such as the reduction of entitlements. If you don't like, to me, the main issue here is the roadway alignment. And I actually think you all could decide which roadway alignment you want to vote for. You could, if you think that the southern alignment, the one that goes farther south, is the alignment that you like, you could approve it with the condition that they move the roadway alignment. But I'm not sure what the purpose of the continuance is. That's my concern.
Yeah.
So, again, I don't.
Mr. Goldstein, this is Daniel Bergen. I was going to respond back to their comments on the roadway alignment, if that's going to be part of the
You
vote
can do
here.
that, but then we're going to have to, it's up to the chair, but if you do that, then they're going to have to give the applicant another chance to rebut it, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just get on with the possibility.
At some point, Mr. Chair, you just need to close the public hearing and
Right.
bring it to the planning commission.
And that's what we're doing right now.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Brad, I know you're standing at the podium, so I want to ask this question, and maybe this is for you, not on a, I want to say it on a project like this, but I know this is not the common project, okay? I mean, but as far as roadway alignments go and cross-access and where they make sense, at some point, does county staff ever provide feedback on what looks feasible, what looks constructible? Because when I look at this, and I voiced this last time, I still have concerns with the proposed routing of the road on their proposed land use swap exhibit.
Yeah, Brad Tippin, Planning and Development. This is a very different situation. As you know, when these roadways were originally contemplated, this was going to be one Mpd over the entirety of Cpev. When that changed, the roadways were retained, but it didn't necessarily allow for the flexibility to negotiate to reroute the road. You know, once you have some more idea of where the uses would be, what size the uses would be, and things of that nature. To reiterate Mr. Goldstein's point, this is a deviation from what was originally in the plans. Whether this deviation is the location the applicant suggested or the location the neighbor suggested, the county really can't offer an opinion on. We aren't doing an economic analysis. We aren't doing that level of analysis on this. So it does end up being a decision that a body like this would need to decide which alignment they feel would be preferable given their understanding of comprehensive plan and what you think you would like to see in that area, a recommendation.
Well, I guess I'm going to take the opposite approach that I took last time in saying that they could move it on the south side of the wetland. If the applicant came in and wanted that cross-access to tie into the parcel to the west, all the way to the north side of their industrial piece, the purple piece, which is dead ends right into the wetland on the adjoining piece. Would the county object to that?
More than likely, someone at the county would object to that.
That's somewhat my point.
In a situation like this where it's not a direct wetland impact, there is going to be a Category 1 wetland impact crossing the D&D Ranch property somewhere. There's no way to avoid that. The location where that happens, typically it's in any other MPD in the county, first come in sets the alignment generally. and others that have to connect to the various local roads or collector roads or other roads, they essentially come in, and when they come in later, they have to design around where those locations were previously set. This is a situation where there's nothing there. The road, there's been a lot of changes in this, so the road location has not been, fully contemplated with the actual uses in the area. The applicant does have, from my understanding, users. I don't know that they have conveyed exactly who those are, what those are, but generally, I believe they're correct that industrial uses tend to be larger, difficult to place. So a roadway that does weave and meander can create some issues for siting. So to the extent that we would consider that argument from an applicant that has allegedly done that research on their own property and is able to give us that type of information, we tend to agree with that more so than what might be affected at some point in the distant future nearby. Again, direct wetland impacts may be different if this road were going to go directly into a wetland.
Right, I got you.
So I guess to sum up what you're saying, Brad, you're saying staff would be okay with either alignment?
Either alignment, we don't have any tools to justify one of these alignments over the other. So referring it back to us to try and negotiate would simply be us acting as an arbitrator between the two parties, which really isn't the county's role.
I guess the point I'm trying to make here is, again, don't agree with them on the law. I think you have the right to continue it. I'm not sure what additional information you're going to get if you continue this for 30 days.
One of the issues I have is we've been given all this information. At the last minute, there's things that are blank, that are missing. We don't know how much has been approved, how much has not been approved. There's a table in there that has general uses, which is percentages. I'd like to know how much percentages have been approved and not approved. I just feel like almost we're doing this blindly, and this is supposed to be a whole development that you're doing. The Cpev was supposed to be developed together, and now it's coming in Mpd over Mpd was okay, but we need to have a big picture of the entire project. I don't have that. I don't know if any of us have this, so it's almost like a blind approval.
Are you talking about for the Eagle 1 application or the Eagle 2, or both?
All of them. Since the meeting started,
Yeah, because Eagle 1, just to be clear, the one he handed out is administratively approved by staff. It never comes to you, period. Now, do I think there's some things that are not clear in it? Yes, but I want to be clear that you would never vote on the Eagle 1 changes anyway.
And it is still under review. It's not completed yet.
But as it relates to Eagle 2, to me, the biggest ambiguity is there's nothing in there related to the trail. And then a decision needs to be made on the roadway alignment. But other than that, I'm not sure that Eagle 2 is missing anything that crucial.
I see it as a large development, the whole thing, and I don't know what's been approved, what hasn't been approved. I don't know the square footages, and I read through the sub area, and a lot of the sub areas just doesn't seem like we're following the sub area. So, since things started been passing out to us this afternoon, it's just been, okay, we're going to approve this, and we're getting this today. So.
Okay, Mr. Patel, but I just want to caution you that I don't think you vote on this, to be clear.
Correct, unless there's a tie.
I'm not saying your opinion doesn't matter, but.
I got you, yeah.
To a certain extent.
Just providing comments at this
I
point.
understand that, but there's no residential entitlements in either one of these MPUDs.
Okay.
And I don't believe any of these roadways serve a school site that I'm aware of.
Not at this time, not that we know of.
So I'm not trying to be rude, I'm just saying.
I understand.
No, but there are concerns I think we all have.
Right, but.
Yeah.
Just keep it in mind that you were talking as if you were going to vote on this, and
I
you're
understand,
not going to vote
yeah.
on it. So.
It's more of a comment than a,
Okay.
yeah. And we do have, there could be a school in this, there is, in the comp plan and in the.
TV, yes,
Yeah.
there could be a school, but I don't
So.
think these two particular MPDs would be where they would be. They're all
Yeah.
industrial and commercial entitlements.
I understand.
So again, to be clear, I'm not opposed to you continuing it, but I think if you're going to continue it, there needs to be some direction to staff about what you want to see when it's continued. If you're expecting them to resolve the roadway alignment issue, I think Brad's been pretty clear that they will not do that. And then if that's the main reason you're continuing, you might as well just pick the alignment you like and vote it up or down.
Well,
If I
Peter,
may.
are you willing to withdraw your?
Of course, it was never second anyway.
Yeah, okay. So is somebody else like to make a motion
If I,
with specifics?
if I could reiterate something that Brad said, a couple of things. One is that in situations like this, it's generally the first party to the dance that gets to decide what the dance step will be. Is that an accurate statement of what you said, Brad?
Yeah, that is generally the case. We tend to have a vision road layout that will tell us exactly where something would be. But in this case,
It's a blank.
neither one of these would follow that original route. So we have no tools to choose one over the other.
Right.
Yeah, my point is that whichever property you look at, Mr. Scaglioni's or the other property, it's all speculative at this point.
Right, it is.
You know, so,
Well, what condition, I think it's condition 25, says that, it pretty much says in writing what Brad just told you, which is that whoever comes in with a site plan approval first is effectively going to set the alignment. Is that what it basically says, Brad?
Yeah, is that what that says? Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess to your point, if Mr. Scaglione came with a site plan first, he in theory could set a different alignment.
Well, I'll be happy to make a motion. I'm not particularly happy with it, but I'll offer it up, and if it gets a second, we'll see. I would follow the plan that's been determined by the two commercial, or the two light industrial properties, to use the roadway that they're suggesting, despite the fact that it may impinge upon Mr. Scaglione's property and development prospects around housing.
all right, do we have a second?
Can I get a clarification to the motion? Does that include adding the additional condition for the 30-foot?
Yes,
for the
please.
trail, and the additional conditions that William read into the record about the wellhead protection areas?
Yes.
Was the applicant in agreement with the wellhead protection conditions?
Cynthia Spadell, yes, we're in agreement because it just says we have to comply with the code. And it says that in condition 3A anyway, but we agree to it.
Okay.
And another reason
We have a
for
motion
the-
and a second. Any further discussion? Do we have a second?
No.
I don't think
Okay.
we had a second.
Do we have a second? If not, then that motion dies for lack of a second. We have another motion.
I just personally, I'll go ahead and I'll make a motion for denial. And my whole reason is I think this is just way too incomplete, there's way too many unknowns here. Today was the first time I heard of the trail. There's still a lot of ambiguity, and I'm still a little bit troubled by the alignment of the road and the configuration of the road going through the wetland that's ultimately going to cross the wetland on the west. I mean, my recommendation and my understanding is if this denial is approved, this is going to go to the board, but I think what would probably help is having an understanding of what, I know that the applicant asked, their other engineer, how much acreage or what's the calculation of the acreage. It'd be nice to know under his alignment, how much acreage of industrial is down there, because I find it hard to believe. I mean, I still think you end up with 500, 600, 700 feet of depth. I still find it hard to believe that you can't find an industrial user on that southern piece. So overall, I make a motion for denial.
I'll second that. I tend to agree with the.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion of the motion? All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed to the motion, like sign. Okay, motion carries. Okay, application denied.
Planning Commission for both.
If that's it, I'd move for adjournment.
Second.
Aye.
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 Chair, I tried to move things along, I hope I did.
Thank you, Steve.
I never felt like I was at court.
County waterways and wildlife depend on you to keep them healthy. Excess fertilizer, grass clippings, trash, oils, and pet waste wash into gutters and storm drains when it rains. Stormwater carries these pollutants directly into our lakes and rivers, creating an unhealthy environment for fish, waterfowl, and other aquatic animals. Storm drains are meant for clean rainwater. Most other discharges are illegal. If you suspect an illicit discharge, please contact Pasco County Department of Public Works at 727-834-3611.